Hey friends, it's Dimitri with Nebraska Streetwear. So this is going to be May 2023, a review, how the month went. I would say overall it wasn't the most eventful month, and like other months it has ups and downs, but this month particularly was a little bit harder for me mentally. One thing that you guys might struggle with running your brand or business is doubt, a bunch of self-doubt, and that was kind of thrown at me this month. It was difficult to deal with that, and I don't have it often, but sometimes I do, and sometimes I have imposter syndrome. So I feel like sometimes I wake up, I'm like, man, what am I doing? Am I on the right track? Am I doing this right? And I'm like, well, what if I mess up on this? And then this will happen, right? And coinciding with that, recently I've been having some cash flow issues. So basically, I have too much money tied up in inventory and not enough cash to extract out of it, right? And the funny thing is that all my sales metrics are up this year. It's just that I stocked a little bit too much from the previous months on certain products, and they might take a while to sell, or they might not be in season right now, right? But I did have some contingency plans for that. So I have been making a little bit smaller collections that are more focused. I've been making more t-shirts, which the cost to manufacture those is obviously much less than higher priced items like hoodies and stuff like that. So that's been helping. I also kind of have been liquidating a bunch of stuff around the office. I collected a lot of stuff. I had a whole like art and poster wall over there, but now it's covered with inventory. So I did take that down a while back. I think I mentioned that in the previous video. And I have been selling off some of that stuff because I want to put new stuff up in the future, and other stuff I had laying around the office. For instance, I had boxes of trading cards, like Desert Storm trading cards. And I'm like, man, these have been sitting here for basically a year. I haven't used them and I don't need them. And I'm sure people want them. So I put those up on the site, and immediately they started selling a lot. And then that's good because it infuses more cash into the business, which helps a lot. And also at the same time this month, why it's been a little bit slow, I've been making more projects overseas. So I've been working on some hats, keychains, some bags, and that stuff, I won't see the fruition of that, of the work I'm putting into that until months later. So maybe I'm going to have some stuff rolling in June and in July, more product to sell, which I think will be very popular for the summer. A lot of people like that kind of stuff in the summer. I also made a couple mistakes which were kind of funny this month. Well, back to the overseas thing. So one thing was funny. I sent them a file. I'm like, okay, put the hat on this on, or put the logo on the hat in this specific size, right? And every time I do that, I lay everything out. I mention how long it needs to be, all the dimensions. They totally butchered it. They just looked at the mock-up, which the mock-up, yeah, you should make it as accurate as possible to what it's going to look like. But sometimes mock-ups visually, they don't really work. Like, you might mess up by yourself, or the person looking at it might interpret it wrong. It's really weird. You always have to have a spec sheet with the exact dimensions and the exact layout and all the sizing and everything. So from my point of view, and I think basically industry standard, I mean, everyone should go off of the actual size of the spec sheet and not off a mock-up, because those can be visually inaccurate. And I think the company, they went off the mock-up or something because they totally butchered the design and everything. So that was a headache, because one thing I'm learning is that if you're making stuff overseas and you're getting samples and stuff made, having the samples made and then shipped to you and then approved, or you have to make adjustments, that whole process, that just literally adds weeks to months to the whole process of making a product. So you have to basically put in extra time to allow for that, or you have to have good relationships set up with certain suppliers. Like, for instance, I have one supplier and they make keychains, and they already made a keychain for me. They're really fast, straightforward. It turned out great, so I went with them again, and they made another keychain, exact same thing happened, no problems. They went off my spec sheets. They didn't do their own thing. So now, that supplier, okay, I trust them with my files. I don't need to allot, a bunch of extra time for this project because I know it's going to be done in a reasonable amount of time. They aren't confused by anything and we're on the same page. Whereas if I'm trying a new supplier or something else, I have to kind of think about it more often, put more time into it, and kind of communicate with them extra to get a project done, right? So that's something new I've been learning. And it's kind of frustrating because obviously all that does is add more costs to everything when you're going back and forth and getting more samples and shipments and all that kind of stuff. One thing that I've been doing, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last month in reviews, I've been keeping track of all my mileage, which has been helpful, and I've been really on top of that. So I think that's a really good plus for this month. Every time I go in the car, whether I'm going to UPS, USPS, stores, getting supplies, getting inventory, anything, I make sure that I am recording my mileage so I can write that off for tax season next year. So that's a plus. I did have another funny mistake I made this month, and that's in terms of stickers. I'll show you. This is a really popular sticker that I had on the website for quite a while, and I kind of indefinitely sell this. It's just always on there and I will restock it. But I also had another variant of that sticker, the black one. And I was wondering, because these ones, they've just been selling all the time. Like, man, why do people keep buying the black one? A lot of people really like the yellow one. This was actually the first color variation, the yellow and black, not the black and white. And then I looked on my website and it said 0 inventory for the yellow. And I'm like, oh no. I've had the inventory sitting here and it wasn't updated on my website for probably a few months at least. So that's a very bad thing. And this is not the first time this has happened. So this is if you take anything from this video, take this. Make sure that you keep an eye on your inventory levels, especially for products that you sell indefinitely. Sometimes for stickers, if I get a huge pack of them from my local supplier that prints and cuts them for me, I don't really put in a specific number for inventory because I just get a stack, and like I said, I'm going to indefinitely stock this, so it doesn't really matter. So I just would type in like 100 or something like that. I just kind of guess. But what would happen was, let's say there's 150 or there's 50 or something like that. It causes some sales issue, or I underput the numbers and I put in, let's say I put in 50, but then I actually have 100 stickers. So then they sell out, and it's bad because the customer, they might want this one and they can't purchase it even though I have it, and then I just have extra inventory sitting around. Granted, this is a low cost item, but still you don't want that. So Shopify, it's nice, it has a feature where it says sell when out of stock, so I clicked on that for my stickers, for certain stickers. And that's what I recommend if you are selling a product indefinitely and you're kind of in that weird situation where, like with stickers, you could just press sell when out of stock if you have a fast turnaround time for stuff like that, or if you're making it yourself, right? If you're making it yourself, obviously if you sell out, you can just make more the same or next day, right? And there's no problem with inventory. So that was a funny problem. It wasn't the first time I've had that. There's been times where I would even do a drop, and I have a lot of items in that drop, like 15 items or something. And I would literally forget to post a specific color of a t-shirt on the website as the drop is happening. So I'm like, man, why isn't anyone buying this specific color, but they're buying a lot of this color, right? That would happen, and I'm like, oh man, I just did a drop and I don't even have the product up. And then once I put it up, some sales come in, but obviously maybe some people wanted that color instead of the ones that they bought, right? So that's a problem. So make sure that you really keep an eye on your inventory and scan through it on your website. Make sure stuff isn't sold out when it shouldn't be. And then the last mistake that I made, which is kind of bad as well this month. So on Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, right? I have ads running. And what happened was I had a couple ads that where I was, so usually I have an ad running that's solid and gets customers, but then I also might start up another ad and try to reach a different customer base and kind of experiment with that ad and see where it's going. And then from there on out, I will either cut that ad off if it's not performing well, or I will pause the current ad and then focus on this new ad and try it out. What happened was I had an ad that was pending, and usually when I try to get an ad running, it basically starts running within the day. But this one, for some reason, took longer. It took more than a day. And I had one ad running and this other experimental ad. They both had the same audience set, which is bad. So if you have the same audience set and two ads running, they're going to actually compete with costs for one another, and you're actually going to be spending more money essentially, and you're going to be getting less reach because both your ads are competing against each other within the pool of everyone's ads. So you don't want two ads running with the same exact or similar target markets. You want to make sure that you only have one ad running, or you have you might have multiple ads, but they might be on different platforms, or the customer base is very, very different, so they're not going to be competing against each other. So that was a mistake because I had my normal ad running, but then I had this experimental ad running for like a few days, and I just spent like a couple $100s on that, and it didn't. I don't know if it like performed well or at all, but basically it just was there and it wasn't doing anything. So it was just extra ad money wasted that month, when it could have went to other things like inventory or just more cash flow in the business. So that was a bad thing. So make sure that you are also on top of your ads, and if you start one up, make sure that you pay attention whether that one's running or not for sure. So that was this month. It wasn't super eventful. I am looking forward to June because I have a really cool t-shirt design working on right now, and I think it'll be really popular. And it's also going to be a t-shirt design that I can make into a poster. Some designs, they do not transfer the best into stickers or into hats or into posters, and then some do. So I'm excited for that. I haven't made a poster in a while, like my own. And a lot of people have been requesting posters. I think this one will be a perfect one. And I do have, like I said, some stuff overseas that should be coming in, at least 1 or 2 items, which would be nice. And yeah, that's about it. I also am going on vacation this week, so I'm going to be gone. So, that's going to be fun. Take a little break, rejuvenate, re-strategize, rethink, just relax over the week, which would be nice. So yeah, that was May 2023 in review, and I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you got value out of it. If you have any questions down below, comment in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.